All right. So thank you everybody for joining. As we get started and folks start to trickle in, I'd like for you to begin to share which neighborhood you're from. As you can see, you're on the Neighbors Helping Neighborhoods Grant Program webinar. And let's start off with one of our neighborhoods of focus, Upper Clinton Hill. Do we have anybody from Upper Clinton Hill in the building? Can add that to the comments. Okay, I see you. Dr. Griffin from Fairmount, or representing Fairmount. I know you also represent Roseville. And we have some stats from our Victoria Foundation friends about Upper Clinton Hill that you may see. Got about
Nice.
20,000 folks. Fast fact that the M&M factory, or M&M's was the first factory at 285 Badger Avenue in the neighborhood. We also have North Beth Israel Medical Center, Mildred Helms Park. Okay, yes, I see you. Miss Redding representing Upper Clinton Hill. Marquise. Hello, Latifa. Any other assets or staples in Clinton Hill that you might want to name? Put it in the chat. Nice. Hey,
Team.
Justin.
Hey, Justin Savage. I remember him from NRLA. How you
Yes.
doing?
No, we can't see you, Doug, but we see your comment. Once we get to the end of this webinar, we'll open it up to Q&A where we could talk more. Okay, so I saw
Glen
we
Hill
got
Community
some,
Action. Hey,
yes, we have some Fairmount folks in the building, but right now I want to shine a light on Lower Broadway. Do we have anybody representing Lower Broadway tonight? With the Casburger Field, Newark School Stadium, the Roseville branch of the Newark Public Library, North Ward, Central Ward, anybody representing?
I mean, I live in North Ward, but doesn't I don't count.
No, you can still represent it. Thank you, Chris. Okay, see, we got our Clinton Hill folks in here. I love it. See you, Miss Mona. So let's take it to Fairmount. I think we need a little bit of help with naming some of our assets in Fairmount.
Okay.
But I know we have Blueberry Vegan Cafe,
Okay.
Zucchini Bar, Herbal Teas and Sweet Treats. I haven't been yet, but I always see that good jerk chicken truck on Central Ave. Hopefully I get there this summer. Anybody else representing Fairmount? Hello, Terry. Mercedes. All right. So welcome everybody. You can continue to put your name and neighborhood in the chat. And I'd like to welcome you. Now that we know a little bit about where you all are from, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Amaris Mitchell. I'm a senior program officer for the LISC New Jersey office, and we work in tandem with the Victoria Foundation's Thriving Neighborhoods Initiative, also known as TNI. But before we go further, I'd like to open the virtual stage up to our executive director, George Cruz, to welcome you all. So I'll pass it to you, George.
Yeah, thanks, Amaris, and thanks to the full team for all the work related to getting this webinar organized tonight, and the work related work with respect to the Neighbors Helping Neighborhoods program overall. So I want to say hello to the full group here. tonight. We're really thankful for you joining us and affording your time and your skill, um, and your big hearts and your big brains to directly improving and supporting your backyard, your homes, your community. Um, So yeah, just by way of, real quick background of who LISC is for any folks who may not be familiar with who we are. We are a national organization started in 1979, 47 years ago, and starting in New York City and moving into Newark a few years later in 1986, or this office is 40 years old. And how we started is very much how we function now. We started as the sort of the financial responder, one of the financial responders to addressing the civil rights and anti-poverty movements of our generations prior. And over the years, we've come to realize that lasting change in neighborhoods goes well beyond just investing in brick and mortar and the physical conditions of communities. That really lasting change occurs when we're investing in the most important investment, that's human capital, the residents who live in the communities that we directly support. And from that sort of work and working very closely with our one of our longstanding partners in good, the Victoria Foundation, initiated the Thriving Neighborhoods Initiative, the TNI frame, which is now moving into its 10th year. Um, where we're building on and continue to invest on the really powerful proof of concept that when we invest in resident voice building and leadership, along with investing in what's happening in our neighborhoods, that's where we start. That's where we see the real return, the real progress in the neighborhoods that we care about. So, Neighbors Helping Neighbors program, which you're going to learn a bit more tonight, is a direct byproduct of the Thriving Neighborhoods Initiative. It's one of the key tools in our toolkit to offer that tangible investment. And I think what's important for you to know is that, and I think many of you might know this already, since I do see quite a few familiar names in the room here tonight. That you're very much not alone in this work, right? So you're surrounded by a bunch of your fellow peers, your fellow neighbors who care, um, you know, as deeply about your neighborhood as much as you do. You're surrounded by LISC and the Victoria Foundation and other resource experts, and our job is to surround you, to wrap around the sort of resources and supports you need, right, to get this work done. So we see this as building your skill and investing in your talent to build your capacity as individual resident leaders. We see this as a way to contribute to any resident formed and led and operated associations that are in place that you're a part of, because we see resident association is such a critical part of our ecosystems. But we also see this as a crucial subset to how we improve these three particular neighborhoods overall, right? Just as we invest in housing, in economic development, and small businesses, and health and education, all those other important subsets that affect a neighborhood, is how we equally view investing in you and investing in resident voice building. So listen, learn, contribute, voice any questions or thoughts you have regarding the program. We're excited to have you here. tonight, but hopefully, when the webinar wraps up today, you're more interested, you're more excited, you're more engaged, and you take, an important step forward tonight in your own journey as resident leaders, and then more broadly in how you contribute to improving your neighborhood and the city of Newark overall. So before I turn it back to Amaris, I think it's important that we bring in the one of our most crucial thought leaders, Stephanie Greenwood. Stephanie is not only represents Victoria Foundation, who powers this initiative, right? With funding support, but they're very much strategic and values partners in all of that we do. And we love Stephanie, and we're proud to call Stephanie a member of our LISC New Jersey Advisory Council. We know that she's in this much more than a paycheck, that's for sure. It's very much a passion, a source of passion and pride for Stephanie, and just how engaged and how energetic she the work that she brings to this work. So Stephanie, with that, I'll turn it to you if you can to offer some of your usual words of wisdom, if you can.
Oh man, George, that setup. Thank you very, very much for that kind welcome, and much admiration back to you and the LISC team. And thank you, everyone who is on the webinar tonight, for giving your time and your energy to the community work that you're already doing, and for being interested in this round of Neighbors Helping Neighborhoods. I think just the only thing I want to add to what George said is that we know, having a chance to be out and about on behalf of Victoria Foundation, that a lot of the most important work that happens in Newark is happening at the block level, at the grassroots level. People working on behalf of their own neighbors and on behalf of issues that they experience personally. And so this is a really important learning area for us as a foundation, as a place-based foundation, trying to direct resources in these three neighborhoods in ways that are really accountable to you all, to residents that are leading and driving neighborhood level work. So much appreciation to you all. And please know that as we are supporting this program, we are also thinking with LISC and with others about how to connect the various small grants programs that exist around the city, and take your feedback on how to kind of scaffold those up to support more and more of this kind of work, which is so important to health and well-being for neighborhood life. So with that, I will turn it back to Amaris. Thank you so much.
Thank you, George, and thank you, Stephanie. And I second that. Thank you again to everybody for being here. So to let you know what we have in store, this is our agenda for the night. So I hope that you're feeling welcome. But we also want to hear and reflect with you some of these things that Stephanie and the LIST team is bringing up around how we connect as community members, how we amplify some of the work that's already happening. And so, this webinar is being recorded. So in case you missed anything or would like to share this with your neighbors afterwards, it will be available. So our agenda tonight is to hear more from you around what you'd like to gain from this webinar and your thoughts on the status of community building in Newark. Then I'll provide some additional context around TNI and NHN. From there, I'll pass the mic to Chris Williams, a community-based organizer in Newark, and we will end by opening the floor up to Q&A. So I have a couple of Mindy Fully Love quotes up here. So one to kind of get us started and thinking about this is, if there is no exchange, there is no community. If there is no place for exchange, the community is thwarted in its development. Therefore, neighborhoods need to offer places for exchange. So that's what we're talking about here tonight, right? Like, how can we hear from you the folks who are doing the work, who are living in these places of focus. What are ways to begin to find solutions to these issues that we're seeing in the community? And in connection to some of that history that George was sharing, I have another quote. Africans and Aborigines, rural peasants, and city dwellers have been shunted from one place to another. As progress has demanded land here or people there, in cutting the roots of so many people, we have destroyed language, culture, dietary traditions, and social bonds. We have lined the oceans with bones and filled the garbage dumps with bricks. What are we to do? I have seen people in many towns and cities working to reconnect after root shock. Whether it was building a labyrinth or holding a flea market, they were gathering together as neighbors to reform the web of relationships. Within such a moment, people can recover and prosper. This highly respected type of healing, which is called Milieu therapy by psychiatrists, works through the creation of healing places. For an environment to lift the spirit, attention must be focused on opportunities for relatedness. The tools are many and the intervention is powerful. So I hope that helps to set the tone for why we're here tonight and why we're trying to keep this tradition going of community and resident led development going. So, on that note, I'll pass it to my team member, Chris Cordero, to introduce himself and get us started with some community reflections.
Happy Monday, everyone. How you doing? For those who don't know me, my name is Chris Cordero. I'm an assistant program officer for development and communications here at LISC New Jersey. And yeah, definitely want to get started with some community reflections. And if, I would love to hear all of your answers, every single one of you. So for community reflections, the first question will be, what is a challenge that you are seeing or experiencing in your neighborhood? From Fairmount Heights to Clinton Hill to Lower Broadway. We definitely want to see, what are some challenges that you are seeing, or maybe someone in your neighborhood, or have heard of a neighbor or someone in that specific neighborhood that is going through a challenge. If you could put in the chat so other participants and we can see it too, that would be wonderful. Thank you. Okay. I am seeing some answers, do not be shy, do not yeah, this is a safe environment. I guess, since I live in the North Ward and Lower Broadway, I would say that a challenge that I am seeing is, I guess, two challenges, definitely I feel like parking is like really, really bad in my neighborhood sometimes. But I feel like that happened because there was a lot of tourists because of the Branchwood Park and the cherry blossoms and everything. And I feel like there should be more trash pickups. Like trash has been accumulating in the past few weeks, but that is something that the city has been solving little by little. Those are two challenges that I see in my neighborhood. Some answers that I see in the chat is language barrier and many youth who hang out in the summers and evenings with nothing to do. Oh wow. Um, and someone said personal engagement. Miss Mona, she said food desert, family engagement, community, community center so the children can be children. I love that idea. Job employment and affordable housing. Douglas said the challenge in my neighborhood is getting Clinton Avenue between Chadwick and Seymour Avenue to become a vibrant commercial corridor. I do have a plan that I think will be a game changer and language barrier. Oh man, I love that. I would love to hear more about that plan. One of the challenges in the Clinton Hill area is the proliferation of dog poop. Oof. I feel like there's definitely ideas towards that because I do experience that in my neighborhood too. Um, Shazari said parking and no local stores. Um, yeah, yeah. All right, Simon, if you can move on to the next one. Thank you so much for everyone. Last one would be an efficient playground, broken slide, and other play areas. Oh wow, I'm so sorry to hear that. The next question would be, what are some of the initiatives you will want to see continue in Newark? Any initiatives, any projects or anything that, either community organizations or the city of Newark has done that, that you would like to see continue. Douglas said, so many youth with great leadership qualities were following the wrong examples. I would love to use games and sports to develop organic leadership opportunities. I love that. I really do. More wellness events. Okay, okay. More wellness events for kids or for just all ages. Love your blocked. Adopt a lot. Uh, adopt a lot and resources for mental and substance abuse, all ages. Okay, awesome. I love that. I would like to continue providing computer literacy to our seniors. That is very, very important. More support for the art and the artist. The teen work program helps the kids get jobs for summertime. I participated in that in the summer youth employment. I did it for 3 years in high school, and that helped me a lot. And yeah, definitely, that gave me a lot of experience throughout the city. Awesome, awesome. Thank you, thank you. The next question, the next community reflection would be, what are you hoping to get out of this webinar? Definitely we would like to see, what are your thoughts on that? What are you hoping to get out of this webinar? Someone said farmer market, wellness programs, learn how to farm, more public safety incentives for our children during school hours. I would like to bring more emotional intelligence initiatives for our youth. I definitely do see a lot of initiatives and programs and projects for our youth, which is very important. Networking, awesome, awesome. Your network is your net worth, so definitely support neighbors with financial stress, how to apply for and receive grants for community grants. Awesome, awesome. All right, I think that's it, Amaris.
All right, thank you, Chris. And I think Simon mentioned in the chat that there will be an opportunity for you to submit some questions at the end. So if anything comes to mind while we're talking, don't want you to lose that thought. You can go ahead and submit that or even put it in the chat. I have Chris and Simon here helping to review the chat. But again, thank you, Chris. That was awesome. I appreciate your support in reflecting those community reflections. So now getting into how the work of LISC connects to a community building strategy. So our community building strategy at a glance is here, where you see or might have heard from George and us previously that we work across housing, economic development, community resilience. But today we're intentionally focusing on one of the programs that LISC supports through the Victoria Foundation to invest in new leaders who will add to neighborhood level civic infrastructure. Because we do see that for us to reach this larger change or ideas of change in these neighborhoods, we need strong neighborhood level civic infrastructure. So we do this through three prongs: our resident leadership academy, our place-based neighborhood work and those three neighborhoods of focus, and then also the Neighbors Helping Neighborhoods grassroots grant making program. Now you heard a bit about TNI and in alignment with LIST goals to strengthen the capacity of communities like Newark, we work with the Victoria Foundation to pair their strategic goal to strengthen community power to launch and continue programs like NHN, which supports residents in amplifying what your needs are, some of those things that you mentioned in the chat earlier, what you're seeing as issues to bring that to the top, whether that's to public sector folks in Newark, New Jersey, across the nation, or fellow philanthropic partners and stakeholders who also are looking to support some of these issues and hear from grassroots leaders about solutions to these issues. So NHN is really unique where it's designed to have residents nominate other residents that they see as leading community-led solutions with the potential to expand. So somebody mentioned wanting to network. The Thriving Neighborhoods Initiative also helps to support, strengthen community connections, especially between those three neighborhoods of focus, and enhance resident leader networks that already exist while also supporting grassroots projects. So we've been doing this work since 2016. And initially we started off in Fairmount Heights and Clinton Hill and newly added Lower Broadway as a neighborhood of focus. So you heard me mention that Neighbors Helping Neighborhoods is unique in the way that we would like residents to be the ones nominating the projects. So project proposals are submitted and led by residents from Newark's Fairmount Heights, Clinton Hill, and Lower Broadway neighborhoods. And all applications are reviewed by resident leaders from those same neighborhoods. And also note that applicants must lead the project, but we are encouraging you to partner with community organizations and local nonprofits. As George often says, we are integrationists, where we want to try to use all of the opportunities possible to collaborate and make our communities stronger. Now, for this grant specifically, this year we are awarding either up to $2,500 or $5,000 in support of grassroots projects that are focused in those eligible neighborhoods. And grant awards will depend on the quality and scope of the proposal. So we have a rubric that we share and create with a resident review committee to decide on the grant applications or the proposals that are submitted. And we are putting a call to action for projects that can organize residents around shared goals and community decision making, because that's what this is about. We're trying to sort of be a linchpin as stakeholders and partners from LISC and the Victoria Foundation to really encourage and empower our neighbors, resident leaders to feel a sense of empowerment that they can make decisions about what's happening in their communities. So NHN is like a microcosm of that, to be able to look at some of these submitted proposals and say, this is something that I think we should fund. This is something that I think we should support and continue to empower resident voice. We're also putting out a call to action for projects that can foster economic justice. So sometimes people ask, why these three neighborhoods? And what we see is that historically, these three neighborhoods have been historically disinvested or underinvested, or even where there's issues with a low level of civic engagement in these three neighborhoods. So we're looking to support ideas around how we can foster folks who might have been shut out from opportunities in the past to be able to have greater pathways to economic support or workforce development, and also become more stable as individuals, which then will help to make the neighborhoods more stable as well. We're also putting a call to action for projects that promote youth self-determination. We worked with the Victoria Foundation to host a series of community conversations this past fall and this spring. And we heard from young people where they said, we are not invited to these conversations about what's happening in our community, or we want to be able to also be at the table. So, what are some projects that can help to foster young people to determine what their communities look like, what type of leadership skills they would want to gain? And then lastly, we're looking for projects that can respond creatively and collectively to pressing neighborhood needs. So, as an example, I was just speaking with Chris, who you're going to see and hear from a little bit later on, that the budget for the city summer programs has been cut significantly this past year. And so that's an emergent need where I think Dr. Griffin also mentioned in the chat that with young people not having things to do, especially in the summertime, that can be a connection to a rise in illicit behaviors because of the lack of things to do. So we're putting this call out, recognizing all of these factors to the community to say how should we respond? How are people already responding? And how can we support? But the resident review board at the end of the day has the last say. So we're putting this call out. We're responding to the call from community about some of these issues, but it is not us at LISC and the Victoria Foundation who will decide on the grants, but the resident review board committee. Now, some guidelines. The project must be completed by December 2026. Team members must participate in onboarding sessions and peer-to-peer networking events. And you'll see in the application that we have project leaders or put a call out for there to be a lead for the team or the project. And that leader at least must be the person that provides regular project updates to LISC and the Victoria team. We also want to include the resident review committee to be in that circle of knowing about the updates of the project. And just a note, the project funds cannot be applied for individual use, religious, or political purposes. And you'll see that the deadline to apply is Friday, May 29th. So you have some time. And we'll also be offering some TA sessions throughout the month of May that anybody who is already signed up for this webinar, you'll receive more information about that. Now I'm going to get into the application to run through it really briefly, but some things to take note of that we see, or just as a tip, that a component of a strong application should outline clear project goals and ways to track them. Doesn't have to be like, you're maybe you are on the street with your notepad and you notating data, but we all have our own versions of data that we take note of. And you'll see one of the questions is how will you know that your project is successful or that you're on the right track? Because that's important even for us as nonprofit partners to think about and understand, are we on the right track? Are we drifting from whatever our mission is? So you need those guidelines to help you stay on the right track. We're also looking to see, does your proposal demonstrate readiness to work with a team, which includes additional residents? Because again, this isn't a project or proposal for individuals, but for teams of people and potentially for you to work with partners in your neighborhood and your community as well. Third, it should identify a community need and offer a creative, grassroots-led response to the challenge. We're not looking for you to solve it overnight, but we are trying to be creative with each other, to be in community and conversation with each other about what is a good response to these challenges that we're seeing. And then lastly, because this is a grant program, we also want to make sure that folks are on the right track with a clear budget of how they're foreseeing that they're going to spend the funds or use the funds. And in those TA sessions, we'll also be able to support you with that budget creation. But that is important as well to be able to plan on how you're going to implement the project. So I'm going to stop sharing that briefly and just pull up the application for us to go through. There we go. So you should have seen, hopefully on our website. Hold on, I'm just trying to get my Here we go. On our website, and if you haven't, we'll also send a link into the chat for you to have the application link as well. But this is the application is hosted on one of our related sites, Jotform. So we try to make it as simple as possible. Excuse me, this is the first page, but also we want it to be accessible. Someone mentioned that we're seeing folks from different parts of the world in our communities. We're more integrated than ever historically, which is a beautiful thing, or a great opportunity. And it's great when we can also make sure that if we're talking about accessibility for folks who have been historically disinvested from, we want to make sure that any resources are accessible to everyone. So we do have translation opportunities available, or at least if you reach out to me or if you have a neighbor who needs translation support, we will be able to provide the application in Spanish or Creole. So we have that right at the top. And then going into it, you'll see more about the purpose of this grant, which we discussed, the award amount, the criteria, which is largely the area where the Thriving Neighborhoods Initiative is place focused. So we are prioritizing applications from Upper Clinton Hill or team projects from Upper Clinton Hill, Fairmount Heights, and the Lower Broadway neighborhoods. If you need help pinpointing if you are in that neighborhood, you can also reach out to us to offer support and help you determine if you are within those lines of the neighborhood. And as examples of teams, what do we mean by that? This is a call to block associations, to neighborhood associations. Students and youth are welcome to apply. We're looking for student clubs or associations, grassroots community groups, parent, teacher, student organizations, faith goers, and leaders. And if we miss one, feel free to put that in the chat, but these are just some examples. For my folks that are familiar with Branch Brook Park, it reminds me of when it's that call for trains and trios, no individuals on the rink. We looking for trains and trios, groups of two, threes, and four people to put an idea together in this proposal. We also give you examples of previously funded community-led projects like the Clinton Hill Community Small Business Expo, a community tool shed, community baby shower. We also got Miss Mona on here representing the Westside High School Baby Pantry, the Timothy Williams Community Garden in Clinton Hill, the community quilt that was done in Fairmount, and much more. So we try to give some examples, even a student one from 13th Avenue School in Fairmount. They had a Panther Pride conflict resolution and community restoration project, which was really great. And I know Doug and others are wondering how you can receive grants from some of these community grant opportunities that are out here. What we are working on between LISC, the Victoria Foundation, Prudential, the City of Newark, we are trying to make it so that it is less onerous. These applications that you might be applying to or your neighbors might be applying to. So one way that we're doing that is if you have already applied to a 2025 or 2026 cycle for Prudential's community grant, PSCNG Neighborhood Partners Program, Newark Arts is open right now, or the City of Newark's Love Your Block grant, you are welcome to submit that or resubmit it for the NHN Review Committee to review. But just as a note, you have to make sure that it's eligible for what we're looking for NHN, which is again a team, and also for you to be within those eligible neighborhoods. And you'll get my information as well if you have any questions. But that's it for kind of framing the intro. And you'll see at the top, you'll be able to also save your progress. Again, we've been doing this for a while, so we know sometimes people might have an idea or they start their grant proposal and they want to come back. So we have this here for you to be able to start start your application. If you click Save My Progress, you can put your email in and you can log back in to be able to complete it. But also, if needed, we have a Word document version available as well for you to be able to maybe use as like a scratch sheet, or if you want to fill it out that way, we'll accept it. The main thing is we're looking for ideas as potential solution to some of these challenges. So you'll see this red asterisk in some parts of the application. That means that it is mandatory. So we do want to hear what your team or organization name is. It doesn't have to be too fancy, too crazy. You don't have to put too much thought into it, but just so that we remember this is a team project and that you'll need a team lead. What's your address? We want to be sure that if you're applying, that you're eligible for what the project and program is about. So you have to be located, or your project has to be rooted in one of those three neighborhoods. And then you at least need one additional person that can be a co-lead with you on the project. So we're looking for their name and information. And this one is not mandatory. If you have trouble, let us know. But it's also welcome if you have an additional co-lead to work with. And this one's not mandatory either. But if you have any social media or website information you want to share, that's welcome. Now, getting into more of the details about the project. We believe in something called trust-based philanthropy, and a tenet of that is that we know that a lot of you got other things going on. We do not want it to be that you're taking a lot of time to fill out this application, but also, of course, it's all about really what the heart of the idea is. So it's only 6 questions plus a budget. So, what is the name of the program or project? What's your team's proposal to advance your community, and how will your neighbors benefit? So essentially, we put a little hint here. So describe the initiative and its main activities in simple, clear language, as if you were explaining it to a neighbor unfamiliar with your work. Just, you could keep it simple, not looking for too much. Next, what is the overall goal your team wants to achieve through this project? Are you trying to increase civic engagement in your neighborhood? Are you trying to increase literacy rates in education or empowerment to make people feel a sense of pride about their community? Are you trying to create and foster vibrant public and green spaces, improve community health and wellness connections, support the local economy, support some businesses in the area or the business corridor, promote arts, culture, creative expression, etc.? And we do have a word limit on this one for just about 100 words. So again, trying to keep it simple but clear, but also, as strong as you can make it. Next, as I mentioned before, what's some information, indicators, or signs that will help you and your team know that the project is on the right track? So let's say with something around youth homelessness, making sure that young people have a place that they can go or feeling a sense of home somewhere. I'm thinking about West Side with the Lights On project, maybe it's having a place for young people to go. The washing machines that were also there to help young people be able to wash their clothes if they have some gaps at home. The baby pantry to make sure that you support Black maternal health and what young people are going through, make them feel more of a sense of community. What are some things that will help you, that you could describe that will ensure that, whatever those issues are, we're starting to see some progress? Are there any other organizations or community partners who are currently engaged in these efforts? We're not looking for you and your team to be the end all be all. If anything, we're looking for collaboration to build stronger ties. It's okay if there's another person or group that's doing something. If anything, I've been told in years past, you see somebody else or another project that's happening, that shows you that it can be done or that it can be supported. So we're trying to, if anything, promote more collaboration over competition. And Chris will speak a little bit about that more in a few. So, in thinking about that, we're also interested in seeing or encouraging you to involve or partner with anyone or any organization that's not already listed as a co-lead. And then lastly, understanding the turnaround time. We're looking for something that can be done by December 2026, just because the project or part of the project might have to be wrapped up by that time. It can still be scaled beyond 2026. You know, it doesn't have to end with NHN. This is more so supposed to be a program to help support work that's already being done or any ideas to continue on in the future. And then we also want to be sure that we put that up front about a budget for you and your team to think about anticipated expenses, an estimated amount of each expense. You could either fill it out here, written, maybe put a little hyphen and some info about what it is, like supplies. Let's say supplies might be like $100 for supplies, refreshments, maybe 300 for an event, and stipends if you would like to do that, etc. You could work it that way. Or we have the option where you can upload a PDF or an Excel sheet here. And the only required thing is we want to make sure before you submit that you did also submit a budget before you submit the application. So I hope that was helpful. We'll have additional TA sessions for you to be able to talk more or ask more questions about specific parts of the application, or even to walk through the application with you. Um, so you'll hear more about that. But up next, actually before, or if you like, I know you're ready to go, Chris, I want to just give you a proper introduction.
Yes.
So give me 1 second. So we're gonna bring up Chris from Complex Vision North. So he is the CEO and founder of the organization. He's a proud graduate of North Star Academy and attended Richard Stockton College, where he studied political science and was an active member of the NAACP chapter on campus. His early experiences in leadership, advocacy, and community engagement shaped his lifelong commitment to service and youth development. And from 2011 to 2014, Chris worked in North Carolina with the ACLU and the Democratic Congressional Committee on voter suppression campaigns, protecting the voices of low income and minority communities. He also served as an event coordinator at North Carolina Central University and became known for producing music, fashion, cultural events that united diverse communities. In 2022, Chris co-founded Complex Vision North, where he now serves as the CEO, leading programs in mentorship, violence prevention, workforce development, athletics, arts, and civic engagement. And through initiatives like Kabubi's Round Ball Classic, youth literacy and programs, and vocational training, Complex Vision North serves over 1,000 youth annually and has secured over $350,000 in grant funding under his leadership. Chris is a certified community practitioner through Kane University and is currently part of the University of Chicago's Community Violence Intervention Leadership Academy, the fifth national cohort of its kind. Williams will continue his education at Kane, okay, this fall, where he will study public administration, and his work reflects a lifelong dedication to empowering youth, strengthening communities, and creating lasting impact throughout Newark and beyond. So now I'm going to pass it over to Chris to be able to talk more about himself, his
Yes.
experience with applying for grants, and also his take on the importance of collaboration in the
Yes.
cases that he's in Newark. So
Peace, guys. How you doing?
pass it to you, Chris.
Yes. Thank you, Maris, for the introduction. Thank LISC New Jersey for being willing to partner with myself and my organization. I know some of you on the call may know me personally, or you probably see me in passing. But if you don't know me, just know I totally get it. I totally understand how it feels to come out of pocket for events like years of doing community service. Um, One thing first. So before I even knew what a grant was, I always had the writing skills, but I just had the passion. So me and my colleagues, years before I started Compass Vision North, I was just coming out of pocket. I was making phone calls, pulling together resources and pulling together ideas. That's very important. I didn't know that I was doing some of the most strategic things that it takes to actually be able to collaborate on a community level with other organizations and also to actually start your own organization. But I'm 35 years old, uh, and I was just addicted to just doing the work. But once I began to feel kind of tired and then kind of burnt out, um, I slowed down just a little bit. I slowed down a little bit. Like I said, I always had writing skills, but I never knew what a grant was, right? And an opportunity. I was fortunate enough to know about an opportunity just a little bit before the opportunity came about, and just naturally, all other characteristics, all of my qualities that I was doing out of my own pocket, not getting no recognition besides the people that was directly impacted. This was even before Instagram and stuff like that. I was blessed to come up in a neighborhood to where, even though the neighborhood was known for a lot of negative things due to the socioeconomic environment, there was some positive people like my mother. There was some positive mothers and fathers and uncles and coaches and stuff that had instilled their wisdom in me. They seen that I had a big heart and stuff like that as well too. So that's really like the main thing about grants. It's not more so who name probably has more recognition than the other organization, but sometimes it could just boil down to what application collaborated the most. I mean, if everyone on this call puts yourself hypothetically as a grant review board, right? So it's you, someone, and it's you, then another person, and y'all down to two applications. Y'all got $5,000 to give it to somebody, right? Both the applications. Now, both the people put in applications, they both went to school for the same amount of time, right? They both organizations are both 3 years old, right? They both kind of do similar work, right? They both seem like they are pillars within their own right, within their local communities. But let's say if the whole entire applications were very parallel, but then it came down to one application where it was one person said, "This is what I'm going to do," and then another person that said, "Not only am I doing this, but for this art section in my project, I'm collaborating um, with Lincoln Park Cultural District," right? Somebody could say, and then for the sports section in my program, I'm actually collaborating with Wheatway Park Sports Authority, and then so on and so forth, right? So sometimes grants, you have to put yourself, you have to collaborate on purpose, even if you got it all figured out. It could be something that you did by yourself, just you and two other people. Well, maybe this go around, try to find intricate ways to allow yourself to collaborate with other like-minded individuals and CEOs as well too, right? Another thing is we have to identify our strong qualities in life, I believe, but then we have to know how to tame them, because just because you could do everything doesn't necessarily mean that you would get the same impact or ending result by only yourself just doing that. Maybe if you could have called upon two or three other people, maybe it could have just been that twist of an idea that just that another person or like the other organization could have brought to the table, right? Um, I think a lot of times I think a lot of times, especially coming from urban communities and then definitely coming from neighborhoods, some of us come from single parent households, some of us experience trauma within our early ages of life. Some of us are from the quote unquote hood. I mean, let's be real, we are from New Jersey, but a lot of times it feels so great coming from and battling all those adversities. It feels so great just to say that we did it on our own. For example, getting your car, that's the accomplishment that you could tip your hat on it. Hey, I got my car on my own. I saved up. I bust my butt. Still pay my bills. I was late a couple months, but I got the car I wanted. All right. The same thing for like a new house, right? But one thing when it comes to community organizing, it's great if you could pull something off by yourself, but to do it for the second time by yourself, that mean that you was just content at getting those same results. It doesn't mean that you didn't do a good job, but what if you could have just tapped in just that one person? Not saying that that person came a part of the project and then they changed the whole idea, or like somebody came over and then like they ideas kind of overpowered yours and stuff like that. So like we're not so like I'm not bringing it up to bring it up in a negative sense, but I'm just doing it to encourage people to definitely collaborate and stay within your own lane, right? Um, you may just be that person that has the connects. You may be the person that knows the principle. You may be the person that could get that event location maybe for free or for a better bargain. But you may not be the grant writer. Like let's just call it how it is. Sometimes you may just not be the grant writer, right? And then also specifically in terms of writing grants, it's still ways that you could collaborate because it just may be your idea, but you may be working with an individual like me to where you may not have expertise as physically writing grants, but you have expertise at organizing, building programs, et cetera, et cetera. And writing grants may be my thing. Now, how me and you could collaborate would be for you to focus on the things that you're great at, and then would be for me to focus on the things that I'm great at. We would probably dive a little bit more into what that collaboration looks like an MOU statement. That's a memorandum of understanding. But another thing, and then I want everybody to kind of write this down. If you don't write it down, definitely keep this in your memory bank. Because if you attend one of the in-person sessions, you're going to hear it over and over and over again. Collaborations build sustainability. I repeat that. Collaborations build sustainability. All right. Um, for example, the basketball league. So the basketball league that I run, I collaborate with many people, right? It's like the first year around, I actually received a grant award that I was expecting the funds to pay for the basketball league before the league started. Now, based off how things came, I never got the funds. In fact, that summer, I got the funds one day after the championship game. So once it came to my realization that I wasn't, or it was an opportunity that I may not get the funds in time, I had to do what I was already doing for all those years, right? I had to do what I was already doing, pulling together resources, tapping into my phone. Just think about the amount of time that we spend scrolling on our phone. Our phone is collaborations, right? Our network is our ultimate network. So in our phones alone, it's it's pools of people, right? And I'm I'm gonna probably brush upon that here, but then I think I'm gonna dive a little bit deeper in in-person sessions, which is developing a power map, being able to put people in categories to individuals that you know. It could be education, it could be youth development, it could be grants, it could be politics, it could be policy, it could be criminal justice, it could be public safety, right? So understanding who you know, and then also understanding that you're never alone. Um, and I say that to say, I think, like I said again, a lot of times, especially coming from the urban communities, we get so caught up in our great, grandiose ideas that sometimes when we come in spaces or as we go throughout our days, it's like sometimes our ideas could trap us off without even knowing from collaborations because sometimes we start feeling like, yo, I got to do it. I already did it in the past, or I want to start this, or I want to continue this. I got to get it done, and I'm gonna do whatever that's gonna take. That's the perfect energy to have. Sometimes it takes that energy. Sometimes we have to roll up our sleeves. I'm not saying don't roll up your sleeves, but don't subjugate yourself unconsciously with that energy in terms of just getting it done by yourself. Because when we operate in that space of just want to get it done so bad, we tend to forget that it's other people that even you may know who done similar work, or it's other people that's within our ecosystem, that's within our local neighborhoods, that's within our wards, or that's within our city, um, that does similar work. Sometimes we may already have relationships with some of those people, but sometimes we get so caught up in our ideas that we actually subjugate ourselves to be floating on this island, right? Now you're in this island with just you, your program, and then the only thing that you know is that you just need to get this done, and then sometimes it can be aggravating because you may not have the resources or the money, or we get tired of paying out of pocket. And one thing that solves that is collaboration. Collaborate on purpose. Even if it's something that you know you can knock it out the park, still just stop and just wait and say, well, hold on. Well, I know that I'm doing this art program. You know what? What about the kids that attend my church in the youth group, and then they all done like the art gallery or something like that? Now you may be able to reach out to somebody else. A lot of times collaborations doesn't always mean that somebody is changing a program or changing a vision. Sometimes a collaboration could be done as your program being an opportunity for someone else to showcase their talents, or like their great qualities. And then with that, now you don't open up a whole can of people. So now everybody that's supporting that group of kids, that group of 5 kids, or everybody that supports that organization that does X, Y, and Z. And now once they come to your event, or once you guys collaborate, guess what? Now you done expanded your networking system. Now it's some people who didn't know who you was. Now they know who you are. All right. So collaborate on purpose. Collaborate on purpose. Um, we on a Zoom. We on a webinar today. So I will get into more details when it comes down to the actual grant writing. I believe I believe grant writing can be one of the most scariest things for individuals who feel like they are stuck on the island. You're not stuck on the island. I think coming from urban communities, I think our people, black and brown people, especially black and brown and Latino people, sometimes when we hear certain words like loans and grants, it's like our brain just stop and freeze. It's like we just go into like this big frenzy of, oh my God, it's a loan or grant. Oh my God, I never did it before. Like only rich people could do this. No. Sometimes through collaborations, you may have somebody with that expertise that makes your job easier, right? And sometimes you actually may have the natural ability. So you may be an individual that's a teacher. You may be an individual who was seated well in school that got B's and A's on thesis papers, essays, and stuff. But guess what? All it takes is just for somebody to simplistically break down what makes up a grant, and anybody that just been through education and that was writing at a certain level. Guess what? You can write a grant. It's just our minds sometimes just coming from our socioeconomic backgrounds. When we hear certain words like that, like our minds are shut down. I know, and then you guys hearing this from me, right? So I grew up, I knew how to write in high school, college, but now that I'm into grant writing, and then I noticed that those words triggered me just mentally. Like I heard words like loans and grants, like my mind was shut down, and I always knew how to write. I always knew how to write. I grew up organizing, not just in the community, but also in terms of social life as well too. Early in my teenage years and stuff like that. But even for me, matter of fact, when the when my first grant opportunity came to me, when the person told me the opportunity, the person had to tell me multiple times within like the same meeting. Well, like we didn't officially meet, but the person had to tell me multiple times. They said, "Hey, it's a grant coming out, this and that, snack. How about all the stuff that you done did? How about you actually sit down and then actually come up with the mission to your organization first? Start your business and stuff like that. Do all those things to secure the business, and then apply for a grant." And then I'm like, "A grant?" So they saying yes, a grant. Like if we had people in this community getting grants, and then for me to be as smart as I am the person just telling me straight up, like, you could do a grant. Like, stop thinking like that. Just know that I know that you could write a grant because you're just too smart to not be able to write a grant. So I had to come out of my own mental. And then I went home that day. I was thinking about it. I'm like, well, you know what? Let me start looking up what is a grant and, like, the ways to go about a grant. And then I just went to Google at first, and then I started reading all these simple descriptions. I'm like, wait, I could do all this just like that. Matter of fact, I could probably do this for myself and for other people. So then I took it upon myself. I created my business and stuff like that. I created my mission, my vision. I learned how to open up a bank account. I learned what an MOU statement was. I learned how to get business insurance, all those great things. But what I told myself is, if it's somebody else out there that could do it, who's not as smart than me, then I know I could do it. And then that's all that it took, is just for one individual to tell me about 5 to 7 times within the same conversation that I know for sure I could bet my life on it that you could write a grant. And you may write a grant so well that you're going to be shocked as to why you've been having writing grants. And that's exactly what happened. And I would wrap it up now. But also, you guys can look forward to, once you come to the in-person sessions, you guys will also get a mini grant workbook on behalf of myself, and then also on behalf of LISC New Jersey and Victoria Foundation for hosting this wonderful opportunity, Neighbors Helping Neighborhoods. If there's anything that you guys take from this phone call, to be honest with you, and then, like, really, like, take this with you, not just with grants, but just with getting things done. When you're trying to get things done, and then when you're trying to scale impact, and then when you're trying to maximize just all the small, great things that it takes to just create that impact, even if it's just an opportunity for one person. Never ever forget, collaboration builds sustainability, and your net worth is your network. I'm gonna turn it back over to Maris or Chris. Peace, guys. I see you at the in-person session.
Yes, well said, Chris. Thank you so much. That was really helpful. Thanks for sharing your personal story and also your takes on how to navigate this space with community building and also engaging with grants and grant making. So Chris is gonna stay on once we kind of open up the Q&A. But I'm going to stop the recording in a minute. And so for anybody who might be watching after the fact, I just want, or who might have to cut out, after this, I just want to make sure that you hear that there is an opportunity that's coming up on May 13th. That's going to be at the Newark Public Library from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. It's going to be called Growing Newark's Grassroots, which is going to be a small grants meet and greet. So somebody asked about how to apply for and receive grants. This isn't exactly a guaranteed way or a requirement for NHN, but it is a way for you to meet and get to know the funders, these organizations like Prudential, as well as the Office of Sustainability, Resilience, and Transformation, as well as Newark Arts, just to kind of put a face to the name, to the organization, and hear from them about what some of their priorities are, but also network with other folks in the community who are leaders and doing great work. So everybody who has signed up for this webinar, if you're receiving this webinar thereafter, you can either reach out to me using my email address, amitchell@lisc.org, AMITCHELL at LISC.org for more information. But if you already signed up, we'll be sure that you get the flyer. But that's an opportunity that's coming up that I want to make sure we mention. And also, as Chris just mentioned, we are going to be offering some in-person TA sessions in May. So you could either reach out to myself or Chris, or you'll hear more information about that after today's webinar. So now I'm going to pause the recording. Give me one moment, or actually, Simon, if you could stop the recording.